You are being manipulated right now, and it's not by words, not by people. It's by energy, by frequencies that surround you, pass through you, and shape everything you feel, think, and decide. But Thoth revealed what no one else had the courage to show: how to take control of your vibration before it gets erased from you. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. In just the next few minutes, you'll understand why your energy is being drained every day without you even realizing it, and how the ancients knew how to manipulate this field with a practice so powerful that it was hidden for centuries. But pay attention, this is not theory. It's real vibrational technology. And in the end, you're going to learn the exact practice that Thoth's masters used to shape reality with their own field. So stay with me until the very last second, because after today, nothing will vibrate the same way. Energy follows thought. Where the mind goes, energy flows, and power manifests. You open your eyes in the morning, and, before you even remember who you are, an invisible wave has already reached you. A flow of stimuli, images, sounds, messages disguised as normality. But you don't notice, because this field was designed to feel natural. It was made to blend into your routine. It's a silent vibration, disguised as news, entertainment, trends. You consume without realizing that you're being consumed. You look without noticing that you're being shaped. And everything seems ordinary. A quick video, a viral phrase, an urgent piece of news, a sudden emotion, a thought that didn't even seem like yours. But now it takes up your whole day. Manipulation doesn't come with brute force. It comes gently, with algorithms that anticipate your attention, with words that sneak in without making a sound, with sensations that stick and distort your perception of reality. Nothing around you is neutral. Television isn't neutral. Your phone feed isn't neutral. The places you pass through every day carry vibrational memories, thoughts from other people, intentions you don't even notice. But they're still there, operating, acting on your field without your permission. You wake up and you're already being scanned. Your gaze is guided to where they want it to go. Your focus is hijacked before you even choose. You start the day thinking you're in control, when in fact, you're just responding to a flow you didn't create. You feel a sudden sadness and think it's yours. But maybe it's not. Maybe it was placed there, through a song, a news story, a vibration present in the place where you are. This subtle influence has been refined over the centuries. In the past, it came through imposed beliefs. Today, it comes through screens, images, repetition. Everything that is repeated vibrates stronger, and what vibrates frequently enters your field, even if you resist mentally. It's not about believing, it's about tuning in. Manipulation doesn't need your acceptance, just your exposure. You don't have to agree with fear to feel fear. Just hear it enough times. Just be surrounded all the time by vibrations that carry doubt, insecurity, comparison, urgency. And the cruelest part is that all of this is disguised as normal life, as routine, as reality. And this is where the blind spot lies. Because when everything seems ordinary, you stop questioning, you stop observing, and you start identifying with what you feel, without realizing that you're being influenced all the time. You believe you're sad because you failed, that you're anxious because you didn't try hard enough, that you're drained because you're weak. But what if the cause isn't you? What if what you feel is just the result of an energetic bombardment coming from the outside, constantly, without pause? Thoth had already warned. Everything you don't master within yourself will be used against you. This is not a metaphor. It's real. Your attention is an energetic currency. Wherever you focus, you feed. Wherever you insist, you transfer power. And over time, You become a reflection of what you absorb the most, but almost no one notices. Because manipulation doesn't feel aggressive, it just feels normal. And normal is the most dangerous thing. You are living inside a vibrational mesh that operates in the back of your mind, altering your emotions, your thoughts, your decisions. And every time you unconsciously connect with these stimuli, your field starts tuning in to that frequency. It becomes more vulnerable, more programmable, more disconnected from your real vibrational origin. And right now, as you listen to this, the field around you is reacting, because the simple awareness of this manipulation is already starting to break the cycle. It's already starting to interrupt the pattern. And what comes next is something that has been silenced for generations, a knowledge that taught exactly how to avoid this kind of interference, how to keep the field intact even when surrounded by chaos. The energy theft that happens every day and no one sees. The most impressive thing is that while all of this is happening right before your eyes, the real antidote remains hidden, not by chance, not by accident. It was intentional. Entire libraries were burned. Handwritten scrolls were thrown into the fire. Manuscripts that held vibrational formulas, sacred invocations, symbols of energetic activation, disappeared. And what wasn't destroyed was discredited, labeled as superstition, ridiculed even by the very people who could have benefited from it. This knowledge was too dangerous to remain available, dangerous for those who wanted control, because it brought freedom. And more than that, it placed the power of creation in the hands of the individual. The ability to direct one's own energy, to protect one's own field, to shape reality from the inside out. The ancients knew exactly how to do this, and they taught it with precision. There was no room for doubt. There was training. There was discipline. There was vibrational initiation. In the temples of Dendera, Egyptian priests worked with sound chants capable of altering a person's healing field in just a few minutes. In ancient Peru, the wise ones from the mountains maintained secret rituals where sound, silence, and gestures shaped the invisible winds that govern destiny. In Mesopotamia, sacred words were chanted at sunrise to align the spirit with the pulse of creation. Each tradition held a key. But they all started from the same principle. Energy responds to conscious vibration. And this is exactly what was taken from your hands. When you look at the modern world, you see how logic and reason became the only accepted pillars. Everything that is invisible was discarded. Everything vibrational was ignored. Everything that connects you to the unseen was labeled as too mystical, too esoteric, too childish. And at that very point, the plan worked. Because when you mock what can set you free, you become even more manipulable. You give up the only thing they could never take from you, your ability to vibrate consciously. And without that, you accept what they hand you. You consume what they program. You feel what they project into your field. And all of it seems so natural that you don't even question anymore. But the ancients never depended on the external to transform the internal. They knew the body was just the tip of the iceberg, that the subtle field held the real power. They protected this knowledge with symbols, geometries, sounds, colors, movements, silence. Every detail was a frequency, and every frequency was a password. But today, those passwords have been forgotten, not because they lost their effect, but because you were taught not to recognize them. What was practice became superstition. What was code became a joke. And what was power became noise. The consequence: we live in a world full of information and empty of wisdom. Surrounded by stimuli but disconnected from our own vibration. And this is the most critical point. Because when you're disconnected from yourself, you become receptive to everything that comes from outside. You don't filter. You absorb, and what comes in shapes you, not just in thoughts, but in your body, in your feelings, in how you see the world and yourself. The field around us is increasingly loaded, and those who don't know how to protect themselves suffer. And maybe you think all this is an exaggeration, but stop for a second and observe. How do you feel after spending hours on social media? How does your body feel when you enter crowded places? Why do certain environments drain you even when no one says anything to you? It's not psychological, it's energetic, and it's happening to you right now. And when you start to realize that everything is vibrational, a new question comes up without asking permission. Where does this tiredness that doesn't go away come from? This weight on your shoulders that shows up out of nowhere, even after a full night's sleep? Why does it feel like even when everything is fine on the outside, something inside is still being drained? This is not an illusion. It's energetic theft, but it doesn't come with alarms. It leaves no visible traces. It happens in the silence of encounters, in glances that carry tension, in words that seem ordinary but enter your field like needles. You don't see it, but you feel it. And no matter how much you try to rationalize, something inside you knows that you're being drained. Have you ever walked into a place and within minutes felt your body shrinking inside? Have you had conversations with people who seemed normal but afterward left you exhausted, irritated, without explanation? This isn't drama. It's not hypersensitivity. It's your field reacting to a real interference. Vital energy doesn't just disappear. It escapes. It gets diverted. It's absorbed by denser frequencies that connect to your field when it's vulnerable. And this happens every day, when you're not present, when your emotions are exposed, when you consume content that vibrates below what your soul can handle, when you stay silent in situations that hurt your truth. The theft isn't done by demons, like many believe. It's done by disorganized vibrational fields, by environments filled with anger, envy, fear, competition, by people who lost their own center and started feeding off others' fields without even realizing it. They are disconnected presences, but active ones, because every presence vibrates, and when that vibration comes into contact with yours, the process begins. And the most dangerous part is that you might not even feel it right away. The effect is cumulative. First, you lose clarity, then your energy, then your focus, then your willpower, until at some point you get used to the feeling of always being below your real potential. You start thinking it's normal to live tired, that it's normal to feel heavy, that it's normal to feel that tightness in your chest, and call it routine. But the ancients knew this wasn't normal. They observed the vital flow, and they knew how to recognize the first signs of blockage. Because where energy stops, the soul starts to get sick. Vitality weakens, intuition goes silent, joy disappears, and without joy, the soul retracts. It doesn't disappear, but it hides, because it can't breathe in the field where it was placed. That's why in every deep spiritual tradition, there were rituals to restore the flow, movements to open the centers, chants to break through densities, sacred silence to listen to what's out of balance. They knew the body only gets sick when the field has been sick for a long time, and that no medicine works if the energy keeps getting drained. You can make the best decisions. You can eat the best way. You can even practice exercises and techniques. But if your field remains vulnerable, you'll always be rowing against the current, because the energy that should sustain you will keep escaping through points you don't even know are open. And those points open when you disconnect from yourself, when you live on autopilot, when you accept vibrations that aren't yours as if they were, when you stop protecting your field like a temple. And it is. Your field is the only thing that vibrates even before your presence is noticed. It's the first thing that enters any place with you, and also the first to be hit when something is out of alignment. The first principle, that which vibrates, creates. When you understand that your field is the first to be affected, something starts to change. Because healing is not just about avoiding what hurts you, it's about rebuilding what vibrates. It's about remembering the first principle. Everything vibrates. And what vibrates? Creates. This is the foundation. It's the first law taught by the Hermetic schools, where Thoth recorded not just with words, but with eternal vibrations, what many have forgotten. Everything is mind. The reality you call external is just the reflection of the mind vibrating at different levels of density. What you feel, believe, think, and repeat turns into a field, and that field generates form, generates events, generates encounters, generates patterns. When you think with intention, you vibrate with direction. When you feel with awareness, you shape with precision. But when the mind is invaded by ideas that aren't yours, the vibration begins to distort. You start to conflict with what you feel without knowing why. You drift away from your essence without realizing it. You start reacting to reality instead of creating your own. And that's how it all begins. The deepest manipulation isn't done with harsh words. It's done with gentle ideas, repeated delicately until they become beliefs. And when a belief is installed, it vibrates. It vibrates all the time, even when you're not thinking about it, because vibration doesn't need your attention to exist. It lives on its own, and that vibration starts to attract situations that match it, people who confirm it, environments that reinforce it, cycles that repeat. That's why what you think is not just a thought, it's an energetic seed. And every thought fueled by emotion is a vibrational decree. It's a silent command that tells the universe, keep showing me this, keep giving me more of this. And the universe obeys. Because everything that exists, before being matter, is field. When you vibrate fear, you attract echoes of fear. When you vibrate scarcity, you start to see closed opportunities everywhere. When you vibrate comparison, you never feel enough. And this isn't punishment, it's resonance. It's the natural dance of energy responding to what you transmit. But the opposite is also true. When you start remembering your original frequency, something begins to reorganize, because there's a place within you that was never contaminated, an untouched vibrational core, a spark that Thoth called the point of origin. It doesn't need to be created, it just needs to be accessed, and it only responds to truth, to presence, to real vibration. Recovering your original frequency isn't about fighting everything that affects you. It's about silencing the noise and letting your natural vibration start to emerge. It's like tuning an instrument. You don't need to shout louder, you just need to find the right tone, the right field, the vibrational truth that was always there. And when that happens, everything around you starts to shift. Not by magic, but by vibrational coherence. You stop attracting what no longer matches you, and you start connecting with what resonates with your new frequency. That's when reality starts responding with signs, with unexpected encounters, with sudden clarity, with relief that didn't come from outside, but sprang from within. And when that frequency starts to emerge, the most forgotten need of the modern world arises: protection. The ancients knew that it wasn't enough to vibrate high. It was necessary to sustain that vibration, and for that, they created practices that weren't just symbolic. They were living energy maps. It wasn't about believing, it was about activating, vibrating, preserving. They knew that energy, like water, gets contaminated, and like water, it needs movement to avoid stagnation. In Inca rituals, baths with sacred leaves were done at sunrise, with chants that not only revered nature, but aligned the field with the living forces of the earth. In Egypt, priests underwent vibrational purification before touching any sacred symbol. They knew that a polluted field distorts even what is divine. In Tibet, monks used mantras with specific intonations that activated exact regions of the subtle body. Each sound wasn't a word. It was a key, and each key opened a vibrational door in the field. These doors, when aligned, formed a living mesh of protection that shielded the practitioner from surrounding densities. In Hinduism, yantras, geometric diagrams drawn with precision, weren't just art, they were vibrational devices. When you contemplated them with intention, your field started to reorganize by resonance. It wasn't superstition. It was ancestral vibrational science. The sound, the form, the gesture, the silence, everything had an energetic function. These peoples didn't use empty words. They used the body, the voice, the space, the time, as if everything was part of a sacred instrument. And it was. Because for them, the vibrational field was the only stable reality. The rest was just consequence. Today, however, mocking these practices has become trendy. Mocking herb baths has become a joke. Saying mantras has become embarrassing. Lighting a candle has become an exaggeration. But taking medicine for a sick soul has become acceptable. And there lies the inversion. We disconnected the sacred from the everyday, and without the sacred, the soul loses its reference, and without reference, it lets itself be carried by any vibration. The result? A world where tiredness is constant, distraction is chronic, and the field of almost everyone is in silent collapse. And all because we forgot to protect what connects us to our essence. We forgot to cleanse what isn't ours, to silence what contaminates us, to remember that the field needs maintenance. The ancients did this every day, not as an obligation, but as part of the spirit's breathing. It was an act of alignment, of gratitude, of presence. They knew that by not cleansing the field, you open breaches. And breaches become doors. Doors through which things enter that you can't even imagine, but you feel them. And no, you don't need to live isolated in the mountains to do this. You just need to recover what was forgotten. Return to the subtle basics. Recognize that the body is a temple, but the field is an altar. That what you carry in your vibration determines what you attract, what you repel, what you sustain. The sacred codes that still vibrate, even in forgetfulness. Keeping your field vibrating isn't just about activating it. The secret the ancients knew, and the modern world forgot, is that energy doesn't get lost. It escapes, silently, through open doors in places you'd never imagine. You might be trying to raise your vibration, but if there are invisible channels draining your strength, nothing holds. These are habits that seem harmless, words you repeat without thinking, thoughts someone else planted in you, people you keep close but who drain your energy with every encounter, spaces that carry stories that aren't yours, but that you feel as if they were. In the Andean tradition, they called this hucha, the dense, heavy energy that forms when we ignore the signs, when we don't recycle what we experience, when we let energy accumulate without flow. Hucha settles in the shoulders, the chest, the stomach. It tires, blocks, makes you sick. But they also knew of Sami, the opposite, the subtle, refined, light energy, which only arises when we are present, whole, connected to the whole. The wisdom wasn't in eliminating hucha by force, but in transforming it, transmuting the dense into the subtle, the shadow into gold, the excess into flow. And that's not done by willpower, it's done with awareness, through vibrational alchemy. You start by observing where your energy is leaking. And the truth is that, most of the time, it doesn't escape through big holes. but through small daily gestures. That empty conversation where you drain yourself just to please. The social media you scroll without intention and leave more tired than when you came in. The promise you made against what you felt. The silence that swallowed your truth. Sealing these channels isn't about closing yourself off from the world. It's about opening yourself only where there is vibrational reciprocity. It's choosing where your energy is worth being given and where it needs to be protected, because your energy is your sovereignty. And without sovereignty, there is no creation. There is only repetition of patterns. This is where the ancients started using symbols, not as decoration, but as living language, because they knew that certain lines, certain shapes, certain sounds are not just art. They are keys. They are commands. The flower of life is not just a beautiful drawing. It's a geometric matrix that represents the eternal cycle of creation. When you contemplate it with presence, something inside you starts to remember, to resonate, to reorganize. The Ankh, the Egyptian symbol of eternal life, is not a cross with a loop. It's a vibrational circuit between heaven and earth, between spirit and matter. When used with intention, it activates the vital field. It reconnects. It protects. The primordial sound of Eastern traditions, is not a mystical word. It's a frequency that vibrates between worlds. When chanted with awareness, it defragments the field. It cleanses. It makes space. The harmonic pentagram, when respected in its sacred symmetry, is not a sign of superstition. It's a diagram of the complete human. A vibrational reminder that body, mind, soul, spirit, and essence must be in balance. And when they are, nothing external can dominate you. These codes were discredited because they awakened, and what awakens doesn't submit. That's why those who control the collective vibration made sure to erase the symbols, to reduce them to art, to superstition, to esoteric nonsense. Because if you forget the symbol, you forget what it activates in you. But they still vibrate, even in forgetfulness, even buried in collective memory. And when someone sees them with awakened eyes, they start working again. They start pulsing again. They start healing again. The most powerful practice to manipulate energy before they erase this from you. They erased this from you, but now you remember, because at this point in the path, it's no longer a theory or curiosity. It's a vibrational urgency. And when your soul recognizes the call, there's no turning back. Everything you've seen up to now brought you to this moment, the point where you not only understand, but start to command. Because manipulating energy isn't about controlling others. It's about realigning your internal field with such precision that the world around you has no choice but to respond. This is the throne of the soul. It doesn't require blind faith. It doesn't require any complex external ritual. It requires that you be whole, present, real. Because when your mind, heart, and body vibrate together, everything around you changes. This practice is the core, the backbone of all occult traditions. And Thoth, who encoded the invisible into living symbols, called this process the inner command, the moment when the soul remembers its place at the center of creation, not as a spectator, but as an emitter. You're going to activate this now, but not with force, with precision, with awareness. First, be silent. Remove the noise. The modern world is a field of continuous interference. Notifications, voices, images. Everything is designed to hijack your attention, so you never go within. Turn everything off. Breathe. Allow the field around you to return to its natural state. Now, enter your center, the point between your eyebrows. This place isn't just symbolic. It is vibrationally active. It is the eye that sees from within. the point of convergence between your internal world and the universal field. By focusing there, your consciousness begins to access the field as an emitter, not just as a receiver. With the field clean and your consciousness centered, you activate the vibrational command. But pay attention. Don't say something you don't feel. Empty words don't vibrate. They don't move anything. What activates the field is the true feeling that supports the word. Say something that resonates, that has life in you. Something like, "My energy now aligns with the original pulse of creation. Everything in me vibrates in harmony." Feel every word echoing inside. This is not an affirmation, it is an emission. Now, bring the emotion inside. Love, gratitude, compassion. It doesn't matter which, but it must be real. It must be felt. Because this emotion will activate the most powerful magnetic center you have, the heart. It is what shapes the field with the greatest intensity. And with that, vibrating, directed. Slowly raise your hands. Visualize your energy flowing from the center of your chest to your palms, 3 times, with conscious breathing. Visualize light, warmth, pulse, as if you're extending a field. And then, mentally focus on what you desire: healing, protection, wisdom, courage. At this moment, you're not asking, you're emitting. Finally, seal the field. Close your eyes. Don't say anything else. Stay silent for at least 1 minute. This is the echo moment, when the universe responds, when reality begins to bend to what you've emitted. And here is the final point. This practice is simple, but powerful, and that is precisely why it was hidden, because whoever learns this can no longer be manipulated. You cleansed, activated, coded, directed, and sealed. This is the complete cycle of conscious energy manipulation, not as power over others, but as sovereignty over yourself. And Thoth warned, the one who masters their field shapes the world with their gaze. Now you've seen. Now you know. And if you use this consistently, you'll see changes that once seemed impossible. But be aware, the system around you was created so that you forget. So you'll need to remember every day, until it becomes part of who you are. If you've made it this far, it's because something inside you has already started to awaken. So write here in the comments, "I command my energy." This phrase is not just an affirmation. It's a vibrational signal to the field we're creating together here. And if you want to help this channel spread more content like this, there's a direct link in the first pinned comment for those who want to contribute consciously. This helps us keep this frequency alive, strong, and accessible to more people like you. And before you go, pay attention. A special video has just been selected on the screen, with the continuation of this revelation.